Don't believe everything on the internet. You don't need a big full-frame camera with fast full-frame glass to achieve cinematic images. You can even achieve them with small cameras like this Panasonic camcorder with a 1/2.3 inch size sensor, which is even smaller than Micro Four Thirds. I will show you some techniques that make cinematic images and blurry backgrounds. You want an autofocus background to guide your audience what things in your scene are important and to separate your subject from the back and foreground. That's easier to achieve when you have fast glass and a bigger sensor, but you can also achieve that with smaller sensors and slower glass. First, you need distance between the subject and the background. The further away the subject is from your background, the more the background can fall into the blurry part of the image. Second, focal length. Go away from the subject and zoom in. This way you compress the background and by that it gets more blurry. This applies to bigger sensor cameras also. When you have a telephoto lens that is a little bit slower than a faster wide-angle lens, the telephoto lens will still give you more out-of-focus backgrounds. And 3, close focus. Get really close to your subject. I know this contradicts point 2, but when you get really close to your subject, almost macro-like, you shift the background even further away into the blurry part of your image. So if you want to have blurry out-of-focus backgrounds with your camcorder, just open up the aperture, keep a distance between the subject and the background, and either go very close with your camcorder or go even further away and zoom in. What's also really important for cinematic image is framing. Take your subject and put it in interesting places. Look for patterns and lines. Try to gain some basic knowledge and learn the basics like the rule of thirds or center perspective. This way you will create images that will stick with your audience and are more interesting than just blurry backgrounds. Also learn how light works. Learn to light outside, learn to light inside. I think this scene wouldn't be that nice if I wouldn't set up these lights. If you go outside, try to separate your subject from the background to create some contrast that's not just simply the bokeh. A nice sunny backlight on your subject will separate it also from the background in a very interesting and contrasty way. Try to find contrast in your scene as often as you can. Also movement. Movement is so important for a cinematic image. Take your camera and push in, push out or sideways for a nice parallax shot. I did an in-depth video about cinematic movement you should check out if you want to create cinematic images. Since the advent of DSLRs, shutter speed has become a big topic. Normally you will shoot 1/2 the frame rate, and if you don't have an ND filter with you or in your camera, I think it's not the end of the world if you use higher shutter speeds. But if you want to retain the most cinematic image, you will try to get down to 1/2 the frame rate. Also regarding frame rates, I would shoot in 24p since this is the frame rate most movies use that you and I love. But you can also shoot in 25 and 30p, and I shot 25p on this camcorder and 50p for some nice slow motion. Since Zack Snyder, slow motion is everywhere and is part of the cinematic language, so don't be afraid to use slow motion for your videos. And last but not least, color grading. Color grading has become such an important part of filmmaking. Learn to color grade and learn how to draw attention from one thing to the other with your color grading. You can go very contrasty and action film-like, but you can also go very flat hipster-like. Color grading can be a very useful toolbox that turns amateur-like footage into professional-looking video. As you can see, there are many ways how you can create cinematic images with a tool like a camcorder. I worked with camcorders for many years and I know they have their drawbacks. But if you know how to work around that, you can still create nice looking and cinematic images. I wouldn't say that the camcorder is the same thing as a mirrorless camera, but I want you to not be disencouraged if you can't afford the newest full-frame camera and full-frame glass. I simply want you to create cinematic and great looking images. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments down below and give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. I hope you have a nice day and create something extraordinary.